Hi guys, today we're going to talk about using the metric system when we measure. We discussed the U.S. customary system of measurement and we talked about length primarily. We talked about inches, feet, yards, and miles. Now if you notice in your packet, you also have capacity, and that's how much something holds, okay? And you have, I used to call it the land of Galileo. They might just say in the land of the gallon. I used to call it my little kingdom, and we had four queens, and each queen had two princesses, and each princess had two children. And then we would make up funny things for the ounces. But if you're measuring capacity and you're converting from gallons to pints or gallons to quarts, please use this. When you're doing length, like we did with the inches, the feet, the miles, and the yards, use horse to fly multiply. And in your packet, you also have ounces, pounds, and tons. Again, use your horse to fly method. It'll work. Remember, your horse is the bigger measurement. So a ton would be bigger than a pound would be bigger than an ounce. So think about that and set up that chart to help you. Metric system, this video is going to be longer today, so if you need to take breaks and need to pause it and stretch, go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, or maybe you watch part of it tonight or today and then part of it another day, then please do so, because it does take a little while to go over. So when we look at metric, U.S. is one of the few countries that use the customary units. Lots of countries use metric, so you'll hear it referred to on the news, or even in products within your house, you can find metric measurements on there. So we're going to look at the three we're going to focus on today. And let me get that board, because that has a lot of information, so I don't want to overwhelm you with that board yet. Let's just focus on the basics. So, looking at the basics, we're going to go over length, mass, and capacity. Okay? Length, it's going to end with meter. That's the base unit. So we may talk about a centimeter, a kilometer, or kilometer. It's pronounced both ways. A millimeter, or just a meter. Gram, that refers to mass. How much stuff is in something. Again, we may refer to a milligram or a kilogram, and it'll mainly be kilograms in 4th grade. 5th grade, you'll see more milligrams. And capacity, how much something holds. We're going to talk about liters and milliliters. So since we ended on capacity, if you are, and if we were in school, we would look at our water bottles. So I have a water bottle with me. When you look at your water bottle, if you have one at home, it will list the U.S. customary units and the metric. And it's interesting to really just start programming our head, because as we know, some of the work we do is we're just matching up to what would be the best way to measure, the most accurate measurement, okay? So on my water bottle, it has the U.S. customary units. I'm going to show you guys right there. And you can see there's a little bit of a glare, but you can see when we're talking about customary units, it's U.S. customary units. It's 16.9 fluid ounces. And then below it, it has 1 500th pint, okay? Now, on the bottom is metric measurements, and that's what we're going to focus on today. Notice it says 500 milliliters, and you may say, whoa, that's a lot. Well, it's just a regular water bottle, but a milliliter is little. If you think of an eyedropper, or maybe a medicine dropper, if you've seen one of those, a drop of water is about a milliliter. And again, that's an estimate. I said about, okay? So it takes about 500 drops of water to make up my water bottle, okay? Again, it's on several things in your house. Look around and see what you find both customary and metric measurements on, all right? So now when we look at the different ways we're measuring today, we're going to focus on not all the possible measurements, but we're going to really zoom in and focus on prefixes like milli, centi, and kilo or kilo, okay? So we're going to focus on those, all right? So let's go with length first. Now again, holding this up, and maybe you want to pause it and copy this down. Maybe you'll come back in the video to it, but these are going to be very important. And some of this information is on your sheets, but what you want to, just like I told you with the customary units, maybe you want to make flashcards and know how many inches are in a foot, how many feet are in a yard. You want to do the same thing with this. Now, here's the easy thing about metric. Notice, it's either 10, 100, or 1,000. So that's easier. Okay, you don't have to remember there's 5,280 feet in a mile. You just have to know whether it's a 10, 100, or 1,000. So that helps a little bit, okay? And that's why a lot of countries like to use the metric system, okay? Length, remember, we're measuring how long something can be. And if you notice, you have 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. 1 meter equals 100 centimeters, and 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters. And I'm going to show you something in a minute to help you and hopefully make sense of that, okay? Capacity, 1 liter. When I think of a liter, if you've ever seen a 2 liter of soda, well, just think, that's decently big, right? So a liter would be half of that. Now, let's go back to my water bottle. This right here is half a liter. If I had 2 water bottles, that would be a whole liter, all right? So it takes 1 liter, again, it takes 1,000, whoops, gotta turn it that way, 1,000 milliliters to make up a liter. Okay, remember the milliliters is like a drop, a medicine dropper, a drop of water, okay? Mass, 1 kilogram equals 1,000 grams. Now, mass is, again, it's how much stuff is in something. So let's just do some comparisons. This is the part of the video that you may have to come back to, pause it, write these down, or just review it over and over. It's whatever best helps you learn. And you know, and we've talked about it when we've talked before, what helps you learn the best. Some like to write it. We're going to do a silly little saying that's going to help us convert these measurements. Some of you guys like to make foldables. And if we were in school, we would definitely be making a foldable. We would be drawing some pictures to go with it to help us remember this. Okay, so let's go ahead and go first with a kilogram equals 1,000 grams. So a kilogram equals 1,000 grams. That sounds like a lot, doesn't it? But I want to show you. This is just a paper clip, okay, that we put on papers. You've seen your teachers use these before. If you hold a paper clip, that's about, again, that's an estimate, it's about the weight of a gram. It's really light. It's about the weight of a gram. If it was a milligram, milli, like I think a teeny tiny milli, that would be about the weight of a feather of a bird. And I'm not talking a goose or a turkey. I'm talking a small bird. So again, paper clip's about a gram, okay? So just kind of a comparison. Now a kilogram. If you think of your textbook, a kilogram is about the weight of a textbook. And this is actually one of my textbooks, and I use it constantly. I know it looks very interesting. But this is about a kilogram. Now I'm going to give you another estimate. A kilogram is about 2 pounds. So this book, it's about 2 pounds. Your textbook, like if you have a social studies textbook, or, and I know we don't use a lot of textbooks, but if you have a math textbook that maybe once in a while Miss Bowman or your other 4th grade teachers, Miss Mullins or Miss Mackey or Miss Vanover, maybe they would pull off the shelf and refer back to the math textbook. That would be about a kilogram, about 2 pounds, okay? So again, just giving you an estimate there to kind of put in your mind. Okay, so we've gone over liters and kilograms. Let's go to length. So with length, I'm going to put that to the side. I had a measuring tape out yesterday, and on one side we went over the inches. Well, just like a ruler, on the other side it has centimeters. So I'm going to hold it up just to me so you can see. A centimeter is smaller than an inch. Now I'm going to zoom it in a little bit, and you'll see. So there's my inch, and you see right here, going down this far is 2 centimeters, okay? And that's still not even an inch. Now, I'm going to back it up so you can see a little. The little marks in between, those measure millimeters. Remember, milli, I like to think of milli, teeny tiny, okay? Millimeters, that measures, and you're thinking, why on earth would we use a millimeter to measure? Well, let's look at the tip of my pen. We would use a millimeter to measure that, okay? So, and that would actually be the tip of it, the very, very tip, would actually be about a millimeter. All right, so that's what millimeters look like in centimeters. So they're really small. Now, meter, when we think of a meter, it's comparable to a yard. And if you remember, I said a yard is about the width of a doorway. So, you know, this is our doorway, okay? So that's also about a meter. And again, remember, about is an estimate. So when I walked in and we would do class and we were doing metric, we would practice every day, and I'd look at the kids in my classroom and I'd say meter, and they'd say meter. And I'm going to zoom over there like that. Meter, about the width of a door. And that's what we say, meter, about the width of a door. Now, and it would just program our brain. Now, for centimeter, an adult pinky, it's about the width, so going across, of an adult pinky. Your pinky would be too small, but almost. So it would still be a good estimate. So we'd say meter, centimeter, meter, centimeter. It gave us that visual. Now, millimeter, teeny tiny. So again, we're talking like if we looked at a sharpened pencil, a millimeter would be the tip of that pencil. If we talk about a stick pin that we would hang things up, like if you hung a calendar up, the tip of that stick pin. So I would tell the kids, if you look at your fingernail, it's about the thickness of your fingernail. So we'd use our body parts to help us with this. So we'd say meter. And we would have to know these conversions. So I'd say, okay, guys, meter, about the width of a doorway. How many centimeters would it take to go across that meter? And we would say 100 because that is the exact measurement. 100 centimeters equals 1 meter. So I'd say meter, and I'd say how many centimeters, and they go 100, and they go across it like that. And I'd say meter, and I'd say how many itty bitty teeny tiny thickness of your fingernail millimeters would it take? And it takes 1,000. So I'd say meter, how many centimeters? And they'd say 100. And I'd say meter, how many millimeters? And they'd say, they do this because it's like they were like pointing out the thickness of their fingernail, and they'd say 1,000. So see, that would help us with those metric measurements, programming them in our head. So make a foldable. Think of our visuals that we're using. That would help you remember that. Now, kilometer, kilometer. You'll hear either way, more than likely kilometer. We compare that to a mile. So remember that mile was 4 times around the track. Well, kilometer is comparable to a mile because we measure longer distance with kilometers, okay? So again, just keep those in mind. So we'd say meter, and if I'd say kilometer, they'd say, oh, we're running, Miss Brown, because that's what you hear used a lot in arrays. Okay, it's comparable to a mile. I'd say meter, how many centimeters? And they go 100 with the pinky. Meter, how many millimeters? Thickness of your fingernail, 1,000. Kilometer, oh, that's a long way, Miss Brown. That's like a mile. It takes actually many meters to make up that kilometer. It takes 1,000 meters. Okay, so those are our metric measurements that we're going to be working with. Now that's a lot to process, so maybe this time you want to pause and take a break and get a drink of water or stretch or go to the bathroom, and that's fine because that's a lot to take in. And remember, later you can always rewind and watch this again, okay? So we're going to move on now, and maybe you've paused me, but we're going to move on now to look, how do we convert metric measurements and make them equal or find the equivalent measurement, okay? So remember, and I'm going to scoot my chair up. Remember, we used horse to fly for customary. We could use it for metric. It's not impossible. We could use it. But there's something easier, and there's something that is in your packet that they gave a reference to King Henry, and we use that in 5th grade too. We use it in middle school too. So if you learn it and take the time and learn it in 4th grade, it's going to help you in middle school, and it's not hard. But again, it just takes some practice. So here we go. Reaching across and getting my board. So we know with learning that if we learn songs or rhymes or silly sayings, they help us remember things. And I used to use them a lot in Virginia studies. So when looking at the metric system, we have a silly sentence. Now, in your packet, it says something about King Henry dying from drinking chocolate milk. Mine is different, and let's use this one because, again, you go to 5th grade next year. This is what we're using in 5th grade. So what I want us to think about is first the sentence. Now the green writing above, let's not worry about that. Let's look at the silly sentence first. We look at the silly sentence and it says, King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Obviously not if it causes him to die, right? So King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. That's the sentence we want to remember. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. So you want to get that programmed in your brain. Now, I know it looks like a lot above it because now I have the metric system prefixes that we'll be using, but we're not using all of them. Kilo or kilo is the biggest. Milli, remember we talked about that milli? That's the smallest. So we're going to definitely be using the biggest. We'll be using the smallest, and we're going to use centi some too. Now you have the in-betweens, the hecto, the deca, and the deci. Those will be later. So see, if you memorize this now and you know how to set it up, you'll even be ready for middle school. Okay? So again, our prefixes that go with it is kilo, hecto, deca, unit, or base units, what we refer to, deci, centi, milli. Now, if you notice, I didn't list in here like meter, liter, or gram, because those 3 are going to go with our unit. And I'm going to show you how to set this up. That's a lot to take in. So what would I do right now? I would take out a sheet of paper. I would write this down, okay? And maybe you want to write it this way. I'm going to try to write it another way. And here's what I do too. I'd make my own little foldable, my own little sheet. And I would take this time to even put a silly little picture with it. Maybe you want to put a picture of King Henry not drinking chocolate milk. Maybe he's pouting and looking at that chocolate milk. Maybe he's like got his finger up like no to the chocolate milk. But something that's going to help you remember, King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk, okay? And I'm going to show you how to set that up. So my board, the problem with my board is it's just not wide enough, but I'm going to try anyway, okay? So if I learn my sentence about King Henry, and if you took your sheet of paper, you could write this on your sheet of paper. The reason why I don't use a sheet of paper is because it can be so bright at times with the lines that it doesn't show well on the computer. So that's why you don't see me using it a lot, okay? So I'm going to write my silly sentence, okay? And it's going to look a little small, but I'm going to show you what to do. So I'm going to write King Henry doesn't, and you have to have the word usually, okay? Usually drink. And I'm going to, instead of putting chocolate, I'm going to put choco just so that I can shorten it. I'll put choco milk. Sounds silly, doesn't it? But we know it means chocolate. So I'll put my sentence, and I'll give you just a second to copy that. Let me put my lid on my marker. So hopefully you have out your sheet of paper. And I would put at the top metric system. And this is, this is the part I definitely do tonight. And then revisit the video later to help you. So I put metric system, and I put my silly sentence. And you want to remember this. So again, customary horse to fly. Metric system, let's talk about King Henry, and then he doesn't usually drink chocolate milk because we know bad things will happen, okay? Although chocolate milk's really good. So go ahead and write that down. And this would be a great time to pause and write, okay? Because if I keep talking, you're like, wait, Miss Brown, I'm not finished. Pause it. And that way you can write it down, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to put under it the different prefixes for a metric system, okay? And it'll make more sense. So hopefully you have that, or you've paused this. I'm going to go on. So the K stands for kilo. Now watch what I do. I'm going to do it a different color. You can do this with your colored pencils at home. You can make it, don't spend too much time on decorating as much as learning, but you could definitely use some different colored pencils. So K for kilo. Now I'm going to put K-L-O. And see what I did there? And you can even make those all capital letters, and I think I'm going to do that because I know sometimes the I's and the L's are hard to see. So K-I-L-O for kilo or kilo, okay? See how I did that? That's our first prefix. That's the biggest in the, oh my goodness, sorry guys. That's the biggest in the metric system, okay? H is for hecto. Now, you will not have to use it in 4th grade. You will not have to use it in 5th grade, but still we want to know it because when you get to middle school, in the later grades, you'll be using it, okay? Now, we won't be using it, so you won't have to memorize it as much as the other ones, but it's good to start practicing. So I'm going to spell it, and again, I'm going to use capital letters so that you can see hecto. And hopefully you're writing that down again. Just push pause if I'm going too fast. D for deca. Got that? Now, here's where it gets tricky. U is for unit. And I want you to write that down. I'll show you what I want you to put with unit because there's a little bit more to put with it, okay? U for unit. Now, when we're talking about unit, we're talking about the 3 important units, okay? We're talking about meters, grams, liters. So I'm just going to put under here, meters, and I'm just going to put it, I'm not going to put it as plural. And again, this is your foldable to use, so you want, or your paper to use. It doesn't have to be a foldable. So I'm going to put that under unit because these are our base units, and we'll be going back to these, okay? So they fall in the middle. Meter, gram, liter, U for unit. Okay? D for deci. Again, there's the kilo, hecto, deca, unit, which is meter, gram, liter, deci. C for centi. Remember, pause this if you need to. And then M for milli. Now, again, this is a lot of information at one time, so maybe you just want to take a day just to familiarize yourself with the sentence and be able to tell the different parts, although we won't use the entire parts, and you'll see what I mean in a minute, okay? So I might be referring back to that, and again, if you don't have all this, make sure you pause and copy it down, because now the next part won't be hard at all, okay? So again, make sure that's on your paper. You want to keep this in place where you can use it when you get to 5th grade. Again, we make it in a foldable-like way. We just take a sheet of paper and we fold it down. So it would be, I would take a sheet of paper, use this one right here, and I would fold it like hot dog, so like this. So if you're wanting to use a foldable, on the front of it I put metric system. When I opened it up, which if I open mine up, you'll see words in it, but if I opened it up, on the inside I would put my silly sentence. Below it I would put the prefixes, and I would go ahead and probably add just a silly picture to help program it in my brain of King Henry not drinking chocolate milk, okay? And I could just put a little crown on a guy. You guys don't want to see me draw. It's all stick people. And then he's like refusing chocolate milk because King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk, okay? So again, take some time to do that and get this programmed in the brain. Again, I know it's a lengthy video, so remember you can do this in sections, okay? So that we're going to be referring back to that. Now, let's get to these worksheets you have. All right? So again, this is going to work for grams, meters, liters. So anything you have grams, meters, liters, we're going to use a silly sentence, and I'm going to show you how it works. So what I've done for you is I've taken this sheet, and I've turned it a little more into 5th grade, which is not hard, and I'm not trying to make you work more. It'll just prepare you for next year. But we're going to still use some of the steps on this sheet, and I'm going to show you how it works, okay? So the first thing I want to look at, if you pull out your packet, we'll do a couple problems together, is your sheet. It's got a lot of problems on it, and this is determining the number, which number makes the conversion true, and it's got millimeters and centimeters and kilometers, kilometers. So find that sheet, and we're going to do a couple of those together, okay? I'm going to show you how it works, all right? So what you need is this sheet, and you'll need a blank sheet of paper because that's going to be our workspace paper, okay? Now, some of you guys, if you do have a smartboard at home, I know some of us don't, you could use a smartboard too, but you want to be writing it, and again, because many reasons. Later on, it comes to a point that we'll be able to do these more in our head, but right now, we're programming our brain, so we're writing it, double checking it, making sure we're correct, okay? So let's just go ahead and start off with number 1, and I'll show you how to use this crazy sentence, okay? So number 1, we have 56 millimeters equals centimeters, and I'm going to write that down so we can see it, okay? Now, you do not have to write this part of the problem down. It's millimeters, so that's mm for millimeters equals how many centimeters. I want to write it down and just show you, okay? So I'm going to convert. Now, every time we do a problem, and this is why this scrap piece of paper is important, we're going to write that silly sentence, but we're not going to write all of it. And I'm going to show you how it works, okay? So I say, 56 equals how many centimeters? So I'm going to use that number 56 in my silly sentence. So watch what I do. Don't do it yet. Just listen to me. I'm modeling it for you. Remember in class we do the I do, we do, you do. So this is still kind of me doing, and then we'll do it together, okay? So I think of my silly sentence. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. Now when I finish, I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 letters. If you don't have those 7 letters, you left something out. So look at that. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk, but I didn't write the whole sentence, did I? Just the letters. Now let's go back over what they mean. Kilo, hecto, deca, unit, deci, centi, milli. I'm going to do that again because you couldn't see the K. Kilo, hecto, deca, unit. So that's our meters, liters, or grams. Deci, centi, milli. Now be careful. That does not stand for meters. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and put milli here because that's the trickster. That gets kiddos. Now, if you need to fill them in and go ahead and put all those, you don't have to, but if you need to. But I'm going to put milli there and you'll see why. Now for unit, you want to underline unit because that's our base unit. And under it, I'm going to put L for liters, G for grams, M for meters. Now see what I did there? Now that you want to do every time. Now, you don't have to do the milli every time. I'm doing it because people want to call this meters, and this isn't. This is our smallest part of the metric system. This is milli, okay? So again, kilo biggest, milli smallest, okay? Units in the middle, that's our liters, our grams, and our meters, okay? So ready to start now? So we have 56 millimeters. 56 millimeters. Follow your prefix. Millimeters. Milli. So that means we're going to start at the milli, and I'm going to show you how easy this is. So here we go. I'm going to write down my 56. And we're doing millimeters, and we're going to change to centimeters. Now, here's what you're going to have to do your next step. You're going to have to add a decimal. And I'm looking, I'm saying, but there's no decimal. Well, because when we just write a whole number, we don't put the decimal after it, usually, if it's just a whole number. Now, if we had some places past the decimal, like a tens, hundreds, or thousands, we would. But we don't use that, do we? So, but we're going to place one there. So when we are trying to place a decimal, it always comes after the whole number. So I'm going to go ahead and put my decimal there. So you will have to place a decimal. Okay? Now, the decimal is important because from that decimal is where we're going to take some hops. Now, watch what I do. Now, here's where it's going to take a couple of turns, okay? So I start with milli. So I'm going to start at milli. And I'm going to use my prefixes, and that's what I'm going to work either towards or back from, okay? So I'm starting with milli, and I have to go to centi. So watch what I do. I'm going to put just a dot above milli, or I could put an arrow above milli. That's where I'm starting. Because, and if you say, whoa, 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 where'd you get milli? Because that's our prefix. Millimeters, we're starting at milli. And I have to go to centimeters. Now, I have to go to the left, right? That was wrong. Let me try it again. I have to go to the left, okay? So I'm going to go just one hop, and I'm going to try to do it this way. One hop to that centi. Just one hop, right? Okay. And I'm going, and I'll show you my arrow. I'm going to the left. Now, notice how I put those little dots for decimal. So basically, that's what we're moving is our decimal, okay? So I'm going to move my decimal one hop to the left. Decimal one hop to the left because, see, I moved from milli to centi, and that was one hop to the left. So look, I'm going to take that decimal, and I'm going to move it, except we're going to do scoops. So we do hops up here and scoops down here. So I'm going to do decimal, and I'm going to scoop it one scoop to the left. So how many ever hops we take up here, we have to take that many scoops on the bottom. If we're moving to the left, we still have to move to the left. If we're moving to the right, we move to the right. Now, watch what I do. Now my decimal's moved. Okay, see that? So I'm going to erase that. And that's how many centimeters make up 56 milliliters, or millimeters, excuse me. So I'm going to put 5 6/10 centimeters. We're just putting a decimal and moving it. Now, we could do horse to fly or fly to horse, but like I said, stick with King Henry because that really helps you separate the metric system from the customary, okay? So again, you're probably thinking, I don't know, Miss Brown, this is tricky. So we're going to do some more together. So this was number 1, okay? So let's do number 2. And remember I said, this is going to take a while, meaning this to program our brain. But you'll get it. You are so smart. I believe in you. So number 2, I'm going to write it down. You don't have to. I'll tell you exactly what to write. We have millimeters again. So I'm thinking there's that milli. Had a hiccup. And we're going to move it to centimeters. Look, there's that centi again. That's what we did before. So I wrote down my problem. You don't have to. What you need to write down is your King Henry sentence, okay? But you only have to write the first letter. So here I go. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. And I can even spread this out for you a little bit more. Maybe that'd be easier to see. So I'm going to spread it out. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. See, I'm even getting more proper because, you know, kings talk proper. So here we go. Ready? King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. How's that? Is that proper? All right, so let's fill in some things just to keep us on track, okay? Remember, the M at the end is not for meters. It's for milli. So I'm going to put that there to help me so I just won't think it's meters. That's a big time mistake. And U is for units. So remember, always in the middle where the U is, we're going to put L for liters, M for meters, G for grams, okay? And that'll help us. Now, let's write down, so you did not have to write down this part up here, okay? But you have to write down your sentence every time. I'd go ahead and fill in milli until you program your brain, and always put your units as liters, meters, grams. And maybe you need to write out those words until you feel confident. Maybe you get it from the start. I trust you, okay? So now what you need to write down is your 79, because that's the number we're converting from millimeters to centimeters. So I wrote down my 79. But I have to have a decimal, because my decimal is going to hop, or down here it's going to kind of scoop under, okay? So I have to have a decimal. Well, it doesn't give me a decimal, so I have to put one in there, and always put the decimal after the whole number. So I'm going to add my decimal. So write my whole number, add my decimal. Write my whole number, add my decimal. Now, when you get to 5th grade, you'll get numbers with decimals already. In 4th grade, we do not see a lot of that, okay? So I wrote my whole number, put my decimal. Now, again, pay attention to the prefixes, okay? I'm going from milli to centi. So down here, when I'm talking about King Henry, I'm going to hop from milli to centi. So I'm going to put a dot over milli, because that's where we started. And he has to hop to centi. So he's going to do it just takes one hop to centi. Just one hop. And remember, we're going to the left. Follow whichever direction you go. So we went from milli to centi, one hop to the left, okay? Now, I use those dots to show that's what we're going to do with our decimal. But we're going to scoop it instead of hop. We hop up here, scoop down here, okay? So I did one hop, which transfers down here to one scoop. So I'm going to scoop under that 9 just one time. I'm going to move it one time. And I'll see if I can do it so that you can see, okay? Ready? Scoop one time. See what I did? Now, once I scoop it, that first decimal disappears, and that's our brand new number, okay? So we're saying that 79 millimeters is equal to 7 9/10 centimeters, and I fill that in. Now, if you're still confused, maybe you want to rewind this and watch again, okay? But we're going to do more together. We're going to do a couple more together. So again, hop on top, scoop on bottom, follow the direction. If you go to left up here, you have to go to left down here. We'll have some where we move to the right up here, so we'll have to move to the right down here. It's all about the scoops and the direction. Down here, it turns into the, it's all about the hops in the direction. Down here, scoops in direction, okay? All right, so that was number 2. All right, so let's do another one. Now I'm going to skip around a little bit. So stick with me because I'm skipping around because I want to show you a couple so that when you get to some, I don't want you to get confused. So let's go. Let's do, let's do number 7. So I'm going to write 7. You can even go ahead and start writing down your King Henry sentence. So we have 88 meters equal how many kilometers? And I picked meters on purpose because I want to show you why we have the units listed. So you do not have to write this. You'll be writing down 88 in a minute for me, okay? So you're going to write down your silly sentence. Here we go. You've got to be proper. So I'm sitting up straight and tall, and I've got to be proper when I say this because I'm talking about a king. So here we go. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. So just for fun, when you're saying it, if you want to say it in your very proper English accent, please do. So we have King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. How do you think I'm doing? All right, so now remember, let's go ahead and fill in the last M is milli. That's our smallest unit, or smallest prefix in the metric, not our unit. So I'm going to go ahead and put milli. And remember, I'm going to underline that U because those are our base units, okay? So under it, I'm going to put M for meter, L for liter, G for gram. And if you have a certain way to write it, if you want to do LMG or GLM, that's fine, okay? So again, going back over, kilo, hecto, deca, unit is meter, liter, or gram. It could be either one of those 3, okay, depending on which one we're using. Deci, centi, milli. Now let's look at what we're doing. Look what we have up here. We start at meters. So that means we have to start at that unit. That's why that's important to list. And we're hopping on over to kilometers or kilometers, okay? So remember, you have to write this part down, and we got to write our whole number. So I'm going to put 88 at the bottom. And when you have 88 at the bottom, go ahead and add in your decimal. Remember, it comes after the whole number. Once you have your whole number written, make sure you look back up at your prefixes and see where you're going. So this time you're going from a unit to the prefix. So we're going to have to start at the unit. We're going to have to start at meters, which means we start at the U. Okay? Do you understand why I'm having you put milli here? Because some kiddos would start over here because they would automatically think the M stood for meters over here, and that's milli. So that's why it's important to always list those under the unit. And putting that over here helps you. So we're going to start at meters, which means we start at the unit. And we're going to hop on over to kilometers. Now look at that. How many hops is that going to be? Well, let's see. So I'm going to put my decimal above the U, and I'll see if I can do this sideways, okay? So I'm going to hop to kilometers. So that's coming over here. So here I go. 1 hop, 2 hops, 3 hops. Make sure I put my decimal right there. Do you see what I did? And I know that didn't touch that. That should touch that better. So there we go. 1 hops, 2 hops, 3 hops, okay? And see which way I came. All right, so now we're going to do it on the bottom too, okay? So ready? We're going to do scoops on the bottom. So here we go. Hold it up. Get that. We're going to do 1 scoop, 2 scoop, and then remember we need 3. Now notice I had to do it out here, and that looks a little messy, but notice I had to do it out here, and I have an empty little scoop. What do you think we put in that scoop if it's empty? And if you said a 0, you're correct. We're going to put a 0 there, and therefore our other decimal disappears. So again, we're following direction, and look at which way we went. We had to give it 3 hops up here, so that means 3 scoops on the bottom, and then we just skipped 1, 2, 3, and had to add a 0. So when we write it up here, 88 meters equals 88 thousandths of a kilometer. Okay? All right, let's look at one more on the sheet. And let's look at number, you know the numbers are hard to see. So 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And then we'll look at another sheet that you have and just do one on that. And hopefully it'll be enough that you can reference and help you do. So I'm looking at number 17. And I'm hoping 17 of these numbers are cut off, so I'm going to write it on my board. It's 2 kilometers, so I'm going to put km for kilometers equals how many meters? All right. So the first thing you should do under it is write your sentence. So remember, King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate, milk. Fill in the difficult parts. Go ahead and put milli. And then unit, we're going to put M for meter, L for liter, G for gram, in case we would have to start there. So again, make sure you write that under each problem, or for each problem. And then under it, put your whole number. And remember, right after that whole number, we're going to put the decimal, okay? So that's how we're going to set up each problem, okay? And then after that, we're just doing the hops and the scoops and moving the direction to move the decimal. Okay, so we're going from kilometers to meters, all right? So again, that starts differently. Here's the important thing to remember. Whatever your prefix is where you have to start, okay? So if the first one is kilometers, I start with kilometers. If the first number had centimeters, I'd start over here with centimeters. So that's where your starting place is. Then the next tells you where to hop. So this is telling us to hop to meters, okay? So I'm going to put a decimal above kilometers. And I'm going to have to hop over to the unit meters. Make sure you don't hop over here to milli. It has to go to meters. Remember, meters is in the middle under the U. So here I go. And I'll try to do it with you again. So ready? It takes 1 hop, 2 hops, 3 hops. And our decimal is going to move 3 places. Now look which way it moved this time. That's important to note, okay? You have to move the decimal in the direction you move. So it was going in the different direction of our last problem. So here I go. I'm going to start with down here with the decimal. And you're saying, well, there's nothing top to. That's okay. We can fill in with 0. So I'm going to do scoops on the bottom, and I'm going to do 3 scoops. 1 scoop, 2 scoops, 3 scoops, and that's where our decimal will go. Those are empty, aren't they? So I can fill them in with zeros, and I'm going to get rid of that decimal right there. And our number is 2,000. So 2 kilometers to kilometers equals 2,000 meters. Now, you know when you're writing a whole number, you do not have to put the decimal on the end. Okay? If you want to put the decimal after 2,000, it wouldn't be wrong. All right? So that's how we've worked the problem. We've worked it to the left, we've worked it to the right. Remember, start with your beginning prefix and then move to your next one. And if it moves to the left, move your decimal to the left. If it moves to the right, move your decimal to the right. If it moves 2 hops, that's how many scoops you do on the bottom. Now that's for the first page, okay? And it takes practice, so don't get frustrated, don't give up, you can do this. We're gonna do a problem on the next page, and then, I know this video isn't long enough, hopefully this has helped some. So if you will look for, now, you have pages where you're just using the estimates of measurement. So again, that's why it's important to know, like when we went over that a gram is about the weight of a paperclip, that's why it's important to know those. And remember, we talk about meter, and we talk about centimeter, and we talk about millimeter. So that's why those are important. All right, but you have a page right there, and it's on grams and kilograms, okay? So we're not going to worry with the top part. We're going to worry with the conversions down here, okay? So again, take a sheet of paper, and hopefully you have room on this one. Maybe you need a new one. And we're going to do number 4 together. We're going to do 8 kilograms equals how many grams? And I'm going to show you how we can still use the King Henry sentence. So I'm going to write it down, but you do not have to. 8 kilograms equals how many grams? And I have that, but you don't have to write it down, because unless you want to, because you're going to be using that whole number in a minute. Write that sentence. So here we go. What's our sentence? And if you want, pause it right here and see if you can write that sentence without me saying it to you, because that's going more to a guided practice. And then, of course, once you start this work, you'll be doing your independent practice. So if you want to pause it and see if you can write it and then check it, you can do that. So I'm going to start now. So again, if you need to pause it, pause it. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. All right? King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. I'm going to fill in milli, just to remind myself that that's not meter. I'm going to underline the U for unit, and I'm going to remember that's meters, liters, grams, because those are the ones that meet in the middle. Those are our basic units right there, okay? Now look at where we're going. Now we're going from kilograms to grams. Notice that we've changed the unit, haven't we? Last time we were talking about meters, now we're talking about grams. So remember that U also stands for gram. Okay, but what's important is it starts at the kilo and it moves to the gram. Okay, so that's what helps us know how many places to move, all right? So I'm going to put my decimal. Well, first I'm going to put my whole number, 8. Put my decimal after the 8. And then I'm going to put my decimal above where I start, and I start above the kilo. So there's my decimal. Now notice which way I'm moving. I'm moving towards the unit, right? So whichever way I move up here, I've got to move down here, okay? So here we go. So I've got to hop over to gram, and each time is a hop. So I'm going to turn it this way, and I'm going to go 1 hop, 2 hops, 3 hops, and that's where I'm going to move my decimal, okay? So whatever I do on top here, I'm going to do on bottom, okay? So I'm going to scoop on the bottom. I'm going in that same direction, and I'm going to do however many scoops I did up here down here. So here I go. 1 scoop, 2 scoops, 3 scoops. And hopefully you're able to see that. And that's where my brand new decimal is going to go. And I like to just erase it here. Maybe you want to take your eraser and erase it. But if you're doing with a whiteboard, you can just use the tissue. And remember, the empty scoops I fill with zeros. 1 zeros, 2 0, 3 0. And the decimal's at the end. So remember, this is just simply the number 8,000. Now, the more of these that you do, the more patterns you'll see, and you'll get faster. Okay, so again, 3 scoops under, 3 zeros, 8 kilograms is equal to 8,000 grams. Fill in that answer. And that is number 4. Now we're going to do one the opposite way just to show you, and it'll be the last one we do because I know it's been a lot in this video, okay? And if it was liters and milliliters, we'd do the same thing. The only thing that's changed is the unit. That is all, okay? But we're still going to use these prefixes for measurement to help us, okay? So let's do one more. This time we're going to do number 6. 6. Okay, so you could go ahead and on your paper be writing down your sentence about King Henry. And we have 5,000 grams. And like I said, the more you see these, you'll start getting the patterns of it, because there's also some patterns, because again, we're just working with tens, hundreds, or thousands. So 5,000 grams equals how many kilograms? So again, pause this for that guided practice and see how much you can do on your own. And go ahead and write your sentence. King Henry doesn't usually drink chocolate milk. I'm going to fill in milli because that's kind of hard. Underline my U and put, remember that's meters, liters, or grams. And we're working with grams. So our unit's going to be grams. You could even circle the one we're working with if that'll make it easier to show, well, this one was a gram. I'm going to circle the G for grams, okay? And I'll go ahead and do that here just to show you. We're working with grams. Any of those little clues that'll help you. Okay, so now that you got that, write your whole number. Put your decimal after your whole number. And so it should look like this, 5,000 and a decimal. So sentence, whole number and decimal. Now you're ready to do your hops on top. Let's see where we started. We started at the gram, didn't we? So that's where our decimal has to go, is over that gram, which is under the U for units. So decimal under the gram. And we're going to hop to the kilo, okay? So here we go. 1, 2, 3. See how I did that? I started with the grams, went 1, 2, 3. Now, I have to do and look the direction I came. Maybe putting that arrow will help you, okay? So you can even come down here and put the arrow the same way. You can say, oh, I gotta go that way. So again, those clues that'll help you. My arrow kind of looks pitiful there. There we go. So I'm gonna start and I'm gonna go 3 scoops, following the same direction. 1, 2, 3. And that's where my brand new decimal goes. I'm gonna make him bigger so you can see. So 5,000 grams is the same as saying 5 kilograms. Now, I like to write it and leave the decimal and the zeros off. Okay, and that's how we do it in 5th grade and middle school. So if you practice doing that, that's fine. Or if you did put down on your paper 5, make sure you see that decimal, 0, 0, 0. That would be correct too. But make sure that we see that decimal, because if not, then you're putting just the same number you have over here. So 5,000 grams is equal to 5 kilograms. Okay? So hopefully this has helped. And again, you can use King Henry with any metric. You can use it with meters, liters, or grams. That's why I want to show you 2 different ways. Rewind the video and rewatch when you're just frustrated or maybe having trouble. Take your time. It does take some time with the metric, but if you get it now, the only thing we'll be doing different in 5th grade is we'll be putting decimals within the numbers before you have to do it. Like instead of seeing like 5,000, you may see next year 5 5/10 that you have to convert. That's one of the differences, and it's not hard at all. So again, practice. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always contact me. Take your time with this video and break it up if you have to, okay? Good luck. I know you're going to do great. Be safe and take care. And as always, I miss you. But if you need me, you know how to contact me. And I'll see you soon.